We are ditching our Berkeys.
And it's not because we don't like water, we just don't like our Berkey filters anymore.
Hey, what's up, family? I'm Rachel.
And I'm Joe.
And we are Two Crazy Ketos.
And if you're new to our channel, welcome. Here on Two Crazy Ketos, we do different things like recipe videos and we do product reviews. We talk about various keto topics, and every Monday we go live on Keto Beyond the Couch because life exists beyond the couch.
You can find us in different social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And we have a website, which is twocrazyketos.com, and that's where you're going to find all of our different recipes. Now, we do upload at least 5 new videos every single week, so make sure you subscribe to our channel.
And don't forget to hit the little bell icon, and that way every single time we upload a new video, you'll be alerted to it.
So for the last several years, we've been using the Berkey water filter systems in the house.
And this has been a major life change for us. We live in South Florida, we've had a landscaping business, and we used a lot of plastic water bottles for a really long time. So for our family to transfer over from using plastic water bottles to using a system like this, it was a major investment for our family.
Yeah, when we first bought the Berkeys, Rachel's kind of like, this is a lot of money. You know, we could buy a lot of bottles of water for this. I mean, this Royal Berkey, this unit was about $410. The Travel Berkey was like $290. We've also bought them for our son and daughter-in-law. We bought one for Rachel's mom. So it has been a fairly expensive investment, but the more research we did learning about bottled water and the fact that all of the chemicals in that plastic leach into the water, no matter what you do. I mean, if you keep it cold, it still leaches in, but then when you think about the fact that that water is in a hot truck being delivered, it's just not good for us, and it's not good for the environment or our ocean.
But the Berkey hasn't been without issues.
Yeah, as much as we've loved the Berkey, there have been some problems with it. And really, the problem starts off with the filter. And I do have one of the Berkey filters here. This is one of the black Berkey filters, and we buy these. These are not knockoffs. These are bought directly from Berkey and from their authorized sellers. And these are not cheap. These are $87 a filter. This Travel Berkey has 2 of them. The Royal Berkey can have up to 4. It came with 2. We actually have 3 in there, but they're not cheap. But the problem that we found is, first of all, it's going to start off with when you get them, like this one is dry, you have to do what they call prime it. And priming it is a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
What you have to do is hook up a hose or a vacuum pump kind of thing up to the very top, and then you flush water through it for several minutes until everything starts beading out from the outside. Then you know that it's ready to go. The problem is if you don't use the filter a lot, for example, like in our RV where we only use it once every couple weeks, you have to reprime this filter every single time you want to use it. Also, this will get dirty. Like you can see there's a bunch of white stuff on here. So now you got to take it out, scrub it down with like a scouring pad, put it back in, reprime it again. And every time you do that, you risk having this piece get stripped or a problem here, and it becomes a nightmare. The other thing that we found as of late, when we would order filters, some of them weren't working.
Right.
So every time you install these, you have to do what's called a red dye test to make sure that the filter actually works. So you fill up the thing with water, you put some red dye in it, you run it through, it's supposed to come out clear. And I would say 1 out of 3 filters we got would fail the red dye test.
And this is very frustrating. I mean, we would have to stockpile ones that we could use because you weren't sure, like if you needed it in an emergency situation, were you gonna get one that actually worked? So it was really like we had to hold inventory here in the house to make sure that we were never without water.
Now, I will say at $87 filter, which sounds like a lot of money, they do last for a while, but you do have to come in and clean them every once in a while to get that, amount of life out of them. The Berkey filters remove 203 contaminants, or so they say. This leads us to our next issue that we've had with Berkey, and that is Berkey does not or will not get NSF certification, which is the lab that everybody looks at, like that this is the standard that we're going to hold filters to. So they say it's 203 contaminants, but it's an independent laboratory. It hasn't been verified for the NSF certification, which is one of the reasons why you can't buy Berkeys in California at this time. So with all of that and the fact that they're expensive and the priming issue, and we've had a bunch of failures, and the fact that they're in the middle of a lawsuit over the NSF certification, we decided that it's time to ditch the Berkey.
Right, because we're not going to go back to plastic water bottles, but we need some type of new filter system. So that's where the adventure began, the research began.
So we started looking for alternatives to the Berkey system, and I did a lot of research. I read a lot of independent certifications. I read a lot of NSF certifications looking for a filter that would be good for our house, because this Royal Berkey, this holds 3.25 gallons, and we go through 1 to 2 of them a day in our house. So that's a lot of water.
And part of the research needed to be, could we find a filter that would fit within our existing system? Because I really wasn't interested in repurchasing everybody's everything.
Yep, and we found one. So we found a company called ProOne Filters, and they're based here in the United States. And they make a very, very similar unit. And I'm going to say this, if you're looking to get a Berkey or a filter like this, a gravity feed system, you can get one from them. Same thing, stainless steel. They have brushed and they have polished like this. And then they have filters. But their filters actually work in the Berkey. So that means that we are able to order filters directly from them and continue to use our Berkey, but with the ProOne filters in it.
Well, and another pro for the ProOne is they actually have met the standard and have submitted to be checked.
Yeah, so they have NSF certification, and there's a lot of other pros to this. So let's go over some of them. First of all, like we said, this unit here does 203 contaminants. Theirs removes 275 contaminants.
And because they actually have NSF certification, we can be confident that what they say they're doing, they're actually doing.
Yeah, so the other thing about these is the ProOne removes fluoride. The Berkey does not. If you want to remove fluoride using your Berkey system, you need to get fluoride filters, and the fluoride filters only last for about 1,000 gallons, and they're an additional $99. So you would have $87 a piece for 2 of these, so about $180 for 2 of these filters, plus another $100 for your fluoride filters, whereas these actually come in with a cheaper price point. So if you buy 2 of them, and since our Berkeys all use 2 or more, it's $78 each, and that also includes fluoride. So that to me is a huge pro because it's going to save some money. We have no idea with the Berkey one. We don't know what this filter is. We know it's some kind of a block basically because of the way it works, but there's nothing in here. You can't hear anything in there.
No.
We just know that it's a block, and what happens is when you run everything through, it gets microscopic, things out of there. This is ceramic. So we know what it is. And that really means because it's ceramic, technically, it's lifetime. You can keep cleaning it over and over again. There is a con, though. Berkey says their filters last for 6,000 gallons. Again, independent laboratory, we really don't know. I can tell you from experience, we haven't gotten 6,000 gallons out of them.
No, we haven't.
We've had to change our filters at least once a year.
Right.
If not more. So I don't think we've gotten that much. And what happens is as it starts to get clogged, the flow gets lower and lower and lower, where even if it is filtering stuff out, it's taking twice as long. It actually got to the point where it was taking over 4 hours to filter one of these. So that's kind of a pain. The ProOne filters, they say, are 1,200 gallons. So yeah, now you can say that maybe these are cheaper, but again, no fluoride, NSF. But my thing is, because it's ceramic and you can wash it, you're going to be able to probably get a little bit longer out of it.
Well, and it's only cheaper if you're actually getting that many gallons of water that they say, and we haven't.
Right.
So is it cheaper?
Now, again, 1,200 gallons, that's a lot of water.
Yes.
So if you had to do it one time a year at 2 filters, still that's what, $160. I mean, that's a lot of plastic you're not buying, and in the long run, you're definitely going to be saving some money with that.
Well, and I would not be drinking like water out of our tap. Like we're the reason why they have it, where you can put it the water from your tap in here that's like not a good color, and then it comes out and it's crystal clear. So like we have enjoyed using this because honestly, this type of gravity system, like I've never tasted water better than this type of water.
Now, the other thing about this one that I think is a great pro over this one is you don't have to prime this one.
Hello.
So what you're gonna do is when you get this filter, run it under cool water for about 2 or 3 minutes. You just kind of like put it underneath your sink and let the water run over it. They tell you do not let the water go in here. So just kind of lay it on its edge. You run water over it. And then what I do is I actually kind of stand it upright in a bucket for, probably about 10 or 15 minutes to make sure that this gets nice and saturated. They don't tell you to do that, but I found it really did help with cleaning off some of the outside dust to make it so you don't have to keep running water through over and over before drinking it. Then what you do is you take a provided scouring pad and just kind of scrub it a little bit and it's good to go. What I like is if you let it get dry and then say in 3 weeks you need to run it again, you don't have to clean it again. It's good. And we've learned that with this system over here. So this is from our RV. We cleaned them. We went on an RV trip. 2 weeks later, I filled it up with water and it filtered everything perfectly. No need to prime anymore.
Well, and I'm kind of like giggling at all of this as you're describing like getting things ready to actually use because it was such a long production.
And messy.
To even go on an RV trip because you had like let this thing go and you had to reprime it, that it was part of like our checklist getting ready for a weekend warrior type trip because you had to budget the time necessary to like get your water ready.
Now, the ProOne filters actually come in 4 sizes. The only sizes that I really care about are the 5, the 7, and the 9. So this is a Royal Berkey. You can put 7-inch or 9-inch. I bought the 9-inch because they filter more water, and that also because they're slightly taller, that's going to make the flow a little bit faster. This one here, the travel, you can only use the 5 or 7. We learned the hard way that the 9-inch is too tall. It'll work, but you can't get the lid on.
Right.
But with this unit, you could use the 7-inch or the 9-inch. Now, the reason you might want to use the 7-inch on the Pro or the big Berkeys is because you'd be able to get more water in top because obviously this is going to take up volume and then that would allow you to have more water on the bottom. But for us, it wasn't really a huge deal to do it that way. I want to show you how to actually install this. But before we do, I did want to say one other huge pro when it comes to if you don't have a unit at all.
Right.
You're thinking about buying a Berkey, but you've seen maybe some of the class action lawsuits. You've seen people complaining about it. And you're like, what do I want? I would suggest the ProOne. We obviously don't have the ProOne because we already have these stainless steel things. But take a look at this, price-wise. If you buy the Royal Berkey, which is this one here, which I think is 3.25 gallons, if I remember right. It's $408 for this unit. The Travel Berkey is $327. That's a lot of money for the thing, and that's 2 filters. The equivalent version of the ProOne, and I think it has a quarter of a gallon less capacity, but that's really not that much to me. It comes with 1 filter, but we want to go dollar for dollar, match it up. If you buy it with 2 filters, it's $290. So that's $120 savings over the 2 units. And again, you get NSF certification.
I'm gonna look on the bright side and say at least we already have our units instead of being like ticked off that we spent more on our units.
Now the travel, if you buy the travel version of the ProOne, that one is $270. So it's a $60 savings. And the $270 is if you add in a second filter because again, it comes with 1. So if you wanted to go match, up, you're still saving $60. You want to learn how to install this?
Yes, please.
Okay. So here is our Royal Berkey. And as you can see inside, you actually have the ability to have 4 filters in here. We did 3 because by having 3, it increases how fast the water is going to actually get filtered, and we use a lot of water.
We have 4 adults in the morning, and after everybody gets ready to like head out for the day, we can have to like refill this thing all again.
There has been more than one occasion where one of my children, who I will not name, comes along and fills up his big 40-ounce water container, and then when Dad needs water, it's empty.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we need to take out our filters. And so we're just going to turn this over. I'm sure there's water inside, but that's okay. This is a plug. We're going to leave the plug, and all we're going to do is unscrew these threads. Now, with these plastic nuts, we did have problems in the past with the Berkey ones where they would strip, and now you had a problem because you couldn't get it tight enough.
Right.
So once I get them loose, I can put my hand in here. Oh, you got yours off. Mine started spinning. Now that we have our 3 filters out of there, we need to install the new ones. Now, again, you have to prepare these, and that's the case with any of these type of filter systems. Even if you buy like the ones that screw on your sink, you're supposed to run water through. You know, it comes out black with the carbon. So what we did again was I ran the cool water over it. I soaked them standing just like this in a bucket for a while, and then I used the scrubbing pad. So these 3 are ready to go. So the first thing we're going to do is pull off our wing nuts on the end, but you're going to leave that little black washer on the bottom. Then what we'll do is we'll bring our filter over here, and we're going to put this in like that, and then I will hold it while you screw on the wing nut. Now, it's very important that you don't tighten it too much. So you want to get it snug, but if you over tighten it, you could cause a stripping, and that'll be a problem. But I have found this one doesn't strip nearly as easily as the other ones. And then we're simply going to do the same thing with the other 2. Okay, now that we have the unit all assembled, the first thing you may notice is that these white filters are wider than the black filters. So if we take a look at them, you can see it's slightly wider. That means it's taking up more room in the top. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. On the bad side, if it's taking up more room, it means you can put less water in the top. So if you fill it all the way up to the lid like I do, when you have everything run through the filter, you're still going to have plenty of room on the bottom, which we had with the black filters as well, but you're going to have more. On the good side, theoretically, because there's more surface area for the water to go through, it should filter faster.
Well, and how fast is the flow?
I have no idea. It's funny you asked that. So I was thinking the same thing. Is it faster? I've seen people say it's faster. But if you look online on the documentation, they say it's slower. But I don't think it is based on my experience with the travel. So here's what I did. Before we actually took out the black units from this Berkey, I filled it up and I ran water through it and timed it. So let's take a look at that. When it came to swapping out the ProOne filters for my old Berkey black filters, one of the questions that I had was, how long would it take to filter the water in my container? Overall, I've been pretty happy with the filtration rate of the 3 black Berkey filters that I have in my unit, but I was really curious if these new ones would give me the same filtration rate. Would it be faster? Would it be slower, or is it going to be about the same? So I figured before we go ahead and actually swap out the different filters, we're going to run a test and see how long does this unit take to filter all of the water with the black Berkey filters. What I'm going to do is fill up the top container with water all the way to the very top rim. Once the water level is all the way up at the rim, we'll start the countdown timer. And we're going to see how long does it take for the top to empty into the bottom. The other thing I want to note is how much water is in the bottom once the top is filled, because obviously those filters are going to take up room. So I'm curious, do 3 of the ProOne filters take up the same amount or less room in the top? Okay, so the water just stopped dripping and I wanted to show you inside. If you look in the bottom there is still a little bit of water left, but that water actually won't ever drain out. If you look closely, and it's kind of hard to see here, there is a little black ring on the bottom of the filters where the actual black cartridge like sits into it. And that's right where the water is. So that water actually will never drain out. And I can actually show that to you because here, as I pick this up, you can see there's no water coming out of the bottom there. And as far as how much water is actually in here, you can see obviously those filters take up a decent amount. So the best way to do this is actually measure like how much room I have left in here. So we're gonna go right down until we touch the water. And it looks like we have about 3 inches of space between the water and the lip here.
Wow, I did not realize that it took 2 hours to filter that water every day. No wonder Dad getting the last of the water was so ticked off every time you didn't get water because it was quite a wait.
Yeah, 2 hours. I was kind of shocked that it was taking that long. But you also have to remember, I added an extra filter. So if you were only running 2 filters, it's going to be taking even longer than that. But I had the 3rd filter to speed that up. Something that we did not mention before, and that is with the Berkey filters, and you saw it in that clip, the more water that's sitting on top, the faster it flows. So when the whole top is filled and the water is over the top of the filter, it flows fast.
Yeah.
But as the water goes down, it gets slower and slower and slower. So it only took like 20 minutes for 1/3 of the container to empty, and then another hour and a half for the other 2/3 to go. So it gets slower and slower and slower. That doesn't happen with the ProOne.
Wow.
Also with the Berkeys, they actually tell you you should never only fill it halfway. So you really have to wait until the bottom is empty, or you have enough room in the bottom for a full pitcher, because they tell you you should only ever filter through these when they're completely submerged, because otherwise the top is going to dry out. Again, you don't have to do that with these because they don't have to be primed.
That's a huge bonus.
So here's what we're going to do. We have these installed, and I have no idea of the actual time. I know how long it takes with that one, but I don't know with this one. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run the same test. We're going to fill it all the way up to the top. I'm going to start my stopwatch, and we're going to see how long does it take to filter out the entire container at once. We're going to go right to the top. Okay. Now we're going to hit the stopwatch. I can already tell you I think this is going to filter a lot faster. I can hear the water coming down, whereas with the Berkey, you can hear it, but it's not flowing as fast as this one. So if you come down here, you can actually hear, I'll stop talking, and you can hear the water filtering down. You hear that? So it is definitely filtering, and already looking up in here, you can see it's had a decent amount come out, and it's only been going for like a minute or so, or however long we've been filming this, which is what, 54 seconds. Okay, we are 21 minutes in, and wow, it is more than 3/4 of the way empty. So far, definitely a lot faster. We're gonna let it go until the end, and then we're gonna see how much room do we have in the bottom. Okay, it has been like 42 minutes, and we are completely done, except for the little bit of water below those blue pieces on the bottom where the filter attaches. But you do get the same exact thing with the Berkey. One more thing I want to do is measure how much free space is in the top from the water level to the top of the container. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and touch the water like we did with the other one, and we're right around 3 inches. So not too much of a difference between the two different types of filters.
Okay, we're back.
So you ready for the results?
I am.
Okay, so using the black filters, when I ran it through yesterday, you saw it took just over 2 hours to filter the entire thing. And you had about 3 inches of headroom in the bottom, meaning you had enough room to add about 3 inches more of water.
Right.
A lot of times what we'll do is when this is completely empty, we tend to have a lot of like our SodaStream bottles that need to be filled because we get lazy, and we'll have like 7 or 8 of them that need to get filled.
So we're gonna push it to the limit.
Yeah, we'll fill it all the way up, and then when it gets halfway, we'll fill it all the way up again, knowing once we fill all those bottles up, we'll still have plenty of room in the bottom, like plenty of water. So using the ProOne filters, 3 filters, that I just cleaned today. So usually when you first clean these filters,
it slows it down.
They're slow for a little while. It takes a little time for them to really get up to like their max speed, but 42 minutes.
That is a significant change.
More than twice as fast.
I like your odds for actually getting water in the future in mornings when everybody is getting some water.
Now, one of the concerns we were going to have was, do the wider filters take up a lot of room where you're not going to have as much in the bottom?
Yeah.
And it turned out we still had about 3 inches of headroom. So maybe a little bit, but not enough for me to really measure or notice. Maybe it's one glass worth. That's not a huge deal because with these filters, you can fill it only halfway and let it drain out, whereas you can't do that with the Berkey. The one thing I did notice is you were getting the same filtration rate all the way until there was about a quarter left. But I mean, it went 3/4 of the way through in like 20-something minutes.
Wow.
So when it got to the bottom, it slowed down a little bit, but that is probably, again, because they're brand new filters. And, you know, when I was soaking them, that part wasn't underwater and I probably didn't scrub down there as much. But the more they're sitting in water, I think the faster it's going to get. So I have a feeling in the end, you're going to probably end up somewhere around 30, 35 minutes. Again, compared to 2 hours.
I mean, way different.
Yeah. And those black filters, I do have to say, I gave them a fighting chance, but because before we actually ran the test, I scrubbed them, reprimed them, and made sure they were up to snuff. And they were only about 6 months old. So that's usually where they're at their best.
Right. So that was a fair fight.
Yeah. Last thing to do is give it a taste test. So over there, I have a glass of water that was run through the black water filters.
Yes.
And over here, this is filled up with the ProOne filters.
I will say, beautiful.
Hopefully you don't taste the difference.
Clear water.
Yeah, they're both clear.
Looks the same to me. Nothing bizarre floating in them.
Okay.
All right.
Ready, Dink?
Cheers.
I don't taste anything but water.
Same.
And I would actually expect that maybe a little bit because I haven't, like, usually you run it through a couple times.
I'm actually going to say, like, there is a softness to this. Try this again now that you've had that.
It is softer. It's a softer water.
It's a softer water. That's really nice.
Yeah.
I shall take this one.
Okay.
I mean, both good. We've been enjoying, you know, the Berkey water. Fantastic. Way better than the Coconut Creek water coming out of the tap. But
that's like, it looks like pee when it comes out of the tap.
It's not friendly for a bath. But this is nice.
The only advantage that I would say that the Berkey has, the filters, over the ProOne would be the lifespan. Whereas Berkey claims 6,000 gallons for a filter. They claim 1,200. But again, now we've got 3 filters. So that means that we're good here for 3,600 gallons. That's going to be a couple of years.
Yeah, one would think.
So I'm not really concerned about that because, again, it's 1,200 gallons per filter, but if you're using 3 filters, you triple that. So to me, that would be the only advantage the Berkey has over this, but when you take everything else into account, cheaper, much faster.
Certified.
Certification, all that, I'm willing to give that up that little bit of it, you know, again, what they claim to be a little bit faster. So I do want to say we have completely ended our affiliation with Berkey. We're no longer affiliates with Berkey. We've taken off our website. I've taken off of all of our channels. And we are going to begin working with ProOne. One disclaimer I would like to say is we paid for these filters. They did not provide them to us for this video. They didn't even know we were making the video. I bought the filters for the travel Berkey first. I actually bought them for this filter first and they were too big. So then we ordered them for there and we just held off on putting them in here until we made this video. But we were so excited and so thrilled with the taste of the water and how it was filtering in the travel Berkey, we decided to start working with the company. And so we will leave a link for ProOne down below. And again, if you have a Berkey, you don't need to go and buy a whole new filter system.
No.
You can just buy the filters. I would say if you have the travel Berkey, get the 7-inch because again, you can just fill it up twice if you need to. And I do advise 2 filters. If you have the big Berkey or the larger ones, the Royal, or I think there's an Imperial one, get the 9-inch. And I would recommend going with 3, but 2 will work just as fine. But again, because of as fast as it went, I would recommend 3. But we'll leave a link for everything down below. I don't believe we have a discount code for them, but if you use that link, it will help support the channel. Let us know down in the comment section, do you have a Berkey? Have you been looking for a water filter? And if you have been, is this the kind you're looking for, or are you looking for maybe something that hooks onto your faucet? Let us know down below. If you like seeing videos like this, take a look at some of the videos we have linked right over here. Also, make sure you take a look at our most recent videos I'm gonna put right over there.
Whether you head this way or you head this way, don't forget to head this way. Subscribe to our channel and click the little bell icon, and that way every single time we upload a new video, you'll be alerted to it.
Till next time.
Bye.